Welcome back to the At Home with Roby show. I'm Ashley Davis along with Trent Haston from the Roby family of companies. Visit us today at andrewroby.com, or you can always find us at the WBT.com homepage. Trent, before the break, we talked about historic Charlotte, historic renovations. We're now joined by a friend of the Roby family of companies, Lindsay Daniel of Lindsay Daniel Architecture. Lindsay, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. And I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Trent, I know you have done over the years a lot of work with Lindsay in working on historic homes in Charlotte.
We have. We were joking. I don't know if was that a historic house on Hempstead? Was that Hempstead?
That's a historic district.
It was Hertford.
Hermitage Court.
Hermitage Court.
And that is one of the 5 historic districts in the city of Charlotte.
So was that that was a historic home in the district?
Mm-hmm.
That was the first project we ever did together.
We've done a lot of them, and thank goodness, because we've done some great stuff together.
My dad loved you, Lindsay, and he talked about you when I started driving the dump truck around 17, 18 years old and asking about who is this? I see this sign in front of this house, and who is that? And you know, you were one of the few women professionals back then. He said, that's the boss lady. She knows what she's doing. She's good to work with. And I remember standing with you. I remember standing with you in that house, and we were talking about something. You pulled out your pad and started sketching it, and it was ridiculous how easy it was for you to sketch and how talented you were. And I went back to Dad. I said, man, it was awesome how she did that. And he said, well, and I'm drawing my hand in an arch. He said, well, every time she does that, it's another $1,000. Right. Just remember that, boy.
And that's where I learned it.
So that it's very true.
Ron Haston taught me so much.
Just to know how much that going to be. Every time you do that, it's $1,000. That was 25 years ago.
I learned to draw straight lines.
That is funny.
Yeah. Real fast.
Just do a regular triple window there, Lindsay.
Right. We did do triple windows on that job, as a matter of fact.
I'm serious.
Straight out of copying from Thomas Jefferson's.
So we were talking earlier, that house was one of my first introductions to the project management side of our business. I had been a laborer and a carpenter, but that house had a lot of nice woodwork in it.
It did.
The floors and the moldings.
It was a sweet little house.
The cabinets turned out cool. That was a fun project.
So, Lindsay, I know you served on the Historic Landmarks Commission in Charlotte, and I mentioned in the first break, you corrected me in the break. I mentioned in the first break, Myers Park is not a historic district, but Hermitage Court, I think that's what I was thinking.
It has pretty historical style of homes.
Style, exactly.
But they're not designated.
Maybe talk and just educate the listeners. What does that mean exactly when you're in a historic district?
Well, the issue is the jurisdiction, is that historic districts are kind of controlled by the city. And that you will go to the Charlotte Planning Department's website, and it will educate you on the 5 different districts in the Charlotte area, and you will have to go through their jurisdiction for your approval process. Then if you are a landmark, that is a county-controlled government body, and that group is, like I said, controlled by Charlotte-Mecklenburg, the county. And that county is also the one that is going to govern you, do the approval process and everything. And without a doubt, their website is the best. If you want to go to the best website, it is, where is it? It is just www.landmarkscommission.org. And you're going to understand.
Mecklenburg County.
That's Mecklenburg County, but then the historic districts are all going under the same standard, your national standards.
Does the Landmark Commission's website talk about particular properties, or just talk about?
It has a list of almost 350 historic properties in this county.
Interesting.
And you can read the entire survey on them. You can read everything about them on it. All your forms for the approval process are on there. You can learn about the timing of the meetings and of the approval process.
Cool.
The design review and the final board review.
So what boards have you been on in the past?
I've been on the Historic Landmarks Commission, and I was on that for about 6 years.
Okay.
And head of design review, and then chairman of that board for 2 years. But
wow.
that board is just a phenomenal board, I've got to say.
Where do they meet?
They're over on Randolph Road on the corner of Chase Street.
Okay.
Sometimes boards like that get a bit of a bad reputation, but
I can understand why.
So they're really, but they're doing a job that really is preserving what the history and the cultural aspects of Charlotte really were, right?
Well, the bottom line is the public wants to know, can I do what I want to do? And
Right.
the answer is all over the board, because I don't know what you're bringing to the table here. If you are thinking you really want to preserve, then you're probably on the right track. If you want to build an alien that's landed on the back of the house, I doubt you're going to get it passed. But it's just
You got to go to the suburbs for that.
you got to go to the suburbs,
And
for
that's
that.
cool coming from you. I mean, you do some cool, out of the ordinary architecture, but you also know when
Very
to keep it in the
good
road and preserve what
And
history
sometimes
has.
I can get that into a historic
Right.
project. But it's still got to be very well tempered.
Oh, you always have a little bit of flair. Don't
I can get around some angles.
I've learned you got to have your trademark on your project, which is good.
You're right. But the bottom line is the client needs to know that, is why are you buying a historic landmark or living in a historic district in the first place? Is obviously you like it. But why do these houses look better than a suburb?
Right.
Trying to copy a historic area. So, of course it's about our roots and everything, but it's also, I'd say the majority of what is built in today's world is just bad copies. It's like taking a Xerox machine and copying the same image and copying that image and copying that copy and copying that copy.
It gets worse every time.
It gets
Right.
worse every
Yep,
time.
yep.
And that's what's happened also in the people copying or trying to imitate. You kind of come out with a bungalow on steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just nowhere near the original intent and the love of the space and the details.
Bungalow on steroids. I like that. I like that phrase.
Right.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the At Home with Roby show. We're joined by Lindsay Daniel. We're talking about historic renovations. If you want to renovate your home or find one that you can renovate, call us today at 704-334-5477. Trent, what is it for you as a contractor and a builder to work with somebody like Lindsay? What's that process like when you approach a historic home?
Oh, it's fun. I mean, we are not. I'll say it again. We are not design build by design. I mean, we know what we're good at. We're communicators. We're process people. We're 2x4s and bricks. We think that when you try to do both to win projects, you're taking away the art and the quality of the design and the architecture. So we think that having a professional from that endeavor is every bit as important as having a professional contractor. So it's fun when you work with somebody like Lindsay and Lindsay's firm over the years. You can lean on them and you trust them, and we have a good yin and. I mean, I'm looking at Lindsay. I just feel the yin and yang that
It's
that
a
we
two-way
had.
street.
I mean, it really is.
It's called communication.
And we ask. I've never, Lindsay, even as a 22-year-old, I've never been scared to ask you a why question, and I
Good.
think there's a lot of value in that, and that's
Thank you. I
that's
appreciate
from your
that.
sincerity and your quality on how you do stuff. So it's fun.
Well, the bottom line is you can a client can end up, or the public trying to go through this process can end up in a black hole. It is a black hole of this regulation, that regulation, this form, that approval process. It is It can be overwhelming, but a real professional can smooth out the process and shorten your time and not have to redo. And that communication can also, from the design point of view, hiring an architect can go also through the building process, because a bad builder can also jeopardize your historic standard.
A bad builder can make a historic home or building go
Into
to
a
naught really
nightmare.
quickly.
Into a nightmare.
So,
But it is quite a process, and my hat's off to those who care enough of the public to actually go through this process, because they're saving us some of the most valuable parts of our history. We all know that line about, we're saving our roots and we're saving all of this and
Right.
saving all that. But from my point of view, I have some experiences from traveling through the world and going to see historic sites. And the one thing that you will learn is that you absolutely cannot photograph the emotion of walking into an
Wow.
historic home.
Hey, Lynn, I don't want to interrupt you. Can you hang on to that emotions? Can you stay with us through the break?
Gotcha.
All right, when we come back, we're going to be joined by a client and a partner of, actually a client of ours, Craig Hebe, a client of yours as well, Lindsay, and talk about his historic renovation. You're listening to the At Home with Roby show. Visit us today at andrewroby.com. We'll be right back.